Hello guys, my name is Gabby, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing my August wrap-up. It's already the end of August, if you can believe that. I can't, for sure. And in the month of August, I read a total of 9 books, which I'm super happy about because last month I did really bad and I only read 2, and it was really crazy, but this month I read 9 books. I read 6 novels and 3 graphic novels, which is a first for me because I've never read graphic novels up until this month, so that's pretty exciting. And I'm wearing my 1989 Taylor Swift concert t-shirt because I just got back from it like 2 days ago. On the 29th I went to it for the first time and it was absolutely amazing. And yeah, so why don't we just jump right into it.
Don't throw stones at me, don't tell anybody.
The first book I read in the month of August is this book called You by Caroline Kepnes, and this book is an adult thriller. It's about this guy named Joe Goldberg who's a stalker, and he starts to stalk this girl named Beck. He's very interesting. He's like one of those characters that you don't want to admit that you actually like him just because he's so intriguing and interesting. He's like one of those creepy like Norman Bates characters that you just really like you like to watch him do creepy things, and just starts to stalk this girl Beck like crazy, and it's really scary to think about. I mean, like, she has so much information about her life on social media, and it really makes you think about what we're putting on social media, and you know how easy it is for somebody to find out so much about you. Really eye-opening and just really creepy and intense, and I love reading from the perspective of an unstable character who's like not fully there, because it's so interesting. And honestly, he reminded me a lot of like Dexter Morgan from the TV show Dexter, mostly because like I was reading this book nonstop while I was watching the first few seasons of Dexter. I'm only on season 4, no spoilers. Yeah, he just reminds me a lot of Dexter, the way he's creepy, but you're rooting for him because he's like your main character, and you're like, yes. But yeah, very strange book. Highly recommend it. It's very fast-paced, very intense. I mean, this book is about like 450 pages. Amazing. I really love this book. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I highly recommend it. If you like adult thrillers, I think you'll really like this one. The next book I read this month was actually for the Booktubeathon. I rented it from the library, so I don't have the physical copy with me anymore, but it was I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson, and I really love this book. I gave it 4 to 5 stars. Honestly, this book just felt like I was reading art. Like, it was like art coming to life. Like, the writing style was so beautiful, and it was just so colorful and imaginative, and Jude and Noah's relationship changed and grew so much during this book, and it just like made me want to cry and like be so emotional. Like, it was a really beautiful story. To see them go from like being almost like best friends when they were 13 and then to becoming so distant because of all these secrets and lies their family had when they were 16, it was just like really sad. And all the plot twists at the end of this book are just amazing and so unexpected, and I didn't see it coming. Like, all the little character storylines just come together and weave together so beautifully. Oh, it was really good, you guys. And the only reason why I gave it 4 out of 5 as opposed to 5 is because I did feel like the first 100 pages or so were kind of like slow and really difficult for me to get into the story, and because I feel like the ending could have been a little bit better, like the last few pages, but other than that, it was a really great book and I really enjoyed it. The third book I read in the month of August was also for the Booktubeathon, and that was To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars as well, and I really did love this book. This book was just really cute. Like, I've had this book on my shelves for a long time, and I just haven't gotten around to reading it for some reason because I was afraid that I wouldn't like it, or I thought it would be like too young for me. And like, while I still think it was kind of a little young for me, I still really enjoyed it. I just put myself in the shoes of a 16-year-old girl. Poor Jean is kind of immature at times, but you know, it's expected. She's a young girl and she's experiencing love and these feelings for the first time. You know, she writes all these letters to boys that she's loved before, and they're not supposed to get sent out, but somehow they do. And so she's freaking out, and it starts this whole story about how these boys are starting to come into contact with her again over these letters, and she has feelings for her sister's boyfriend, which was interesting. I mean, me and my sister are like best friends, so I could never even imagine either of us doing that to each other, so that was interesting to read about. Honestly, I was actually Team Josh throughout this entire book because I just don't really like Peter. He's just so, like I don't want to sound rude, but he just seems like the typical, like, fuckboy, you know, that's just so, like, he's there for you one day and then the next day he's, like, back with Genevieve or whatever, like, his first girlfriend, and it's, like, you don't know if he's really picking you as your number one. Like, I just think Laura Jean, like, deserves so much better than Peter, and honestly, like, Josh is so sweet. Like, I know he's Margot, like, her sister's boyfriend, but I just like Josh better. Like, right, the next book that I read this month was my first graphic novel, and that is Through the Woods by Emily Carroll. Now, this book is getting a lot of hype right now, and I only gave it 2 out of 5 stars. I liked it, but I just didn't like it in the way that I was expecting to. A lot of people were, like, raving about this book and saying it was really, really creepy, scary, and, like, don't read it in the dark and all this stuff. And, like, honestly, it wasn't that creepy to me. I mean, like, the ideas were creepy, I guess, and I could see people getting scared by it. Like, maybe I'm just not as easily scared as I thought I was. I don't know, like, it was just okay. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, the artwork is, like, beautiful. At the end of the day, like, the story should be what gets you excited about it, you know? And it's a series of short stories. It's 5 different short stories. And I honestly only really liked 2 of them. Like, the other 3 were just like, ugh. Like, I forgot about them as soon as I read them. Like, I can't even remember what the other 3 are right now. And there were only 2 that were kind of like, ooh, that's cool, and, like, it's creepy, but, like, I still wasn't, like, actually creeped out by it, you know? I just thought, like, ooh, that's interesting. So I ended up giving it 2 out of 5 stars. I was kind of disappointed. Next book I read this month was another graphic novel, and this one was Nimona by Noelle Stevenson, and this one I actually really liked. I did end up still giving this one 3.5 out of 5 stars, but this one's a really funny story. It's more like, it's a graphic novel, but it's, like, I think it's written more in, like, a comic book type of style. The images are, like, really cute and, like, really, like, cartoony, like, which is something that's a lot different than the other graphic novels that I've been reading. Nimona's really, really funny. I really enjoyed her. She just wants to be, like, a side villain to this main villain, Lord Blackheart. He's, like, the main villain, and Nimona's his, like, sidekick. She's able to, like, be a shapeshifter. Like, she transforms herself into other things, and her favorite one is to become a shark, and she's just like, I'm a shark. And it's, like, really funny. Rainbow Rowell even blurbed it, and, you know, Rainbow Rowell is one of my favorite authors, so that automatically made me interested. The only reason why I gave this one 3.5 out of 5 as opposed to a higher rating is because as much as I loved it, I still felt like there was something missing. The ending was a little too cliche, I think, for me. It was just, like, the typical ending of a action type of story, you know, and I just wanted something a little bit more from the ending of this. The next book I read was actually also a graphic novel. This is one that I checked out from the library, and this one is Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel is actually the first comic book type of book that I've ever read, and it's from the Marvel Universe, which was really cool. I've never read anything from the Marvel Universe up to this point, and it was really awesome to read. It's about, I believe her name's Kamala, and she's actually Muslim, and it was really cool because it's very culturally diverse, and, like, I've never read a book from a Muslim in general, but let alone a superhero novel from the perspective of a Muslim. Was really cool. I really liked, like, her family dynamics. Like, her parents just wanted her to, like, be the best person that she could be, and that was, like, a really strong message throughout the book, is that you don't have to be somebody else, you know, to be important, and you don't have to, you know, like, you can just be yourself. Like, you don't have to pretend to be Captain Marvel. I was kind of confused about how she gets her powers, but when she does, she automatically changes herself into Captain Marvel, which is, like, super popular female superhero in this universe, and so she changes herself to look like her so that people will think she's Captain Marvel and not just this, like, you know, socially awkward Muslim girl. And it's like, you don't have to be Captain Marvel to be awesome, you know? You can be yourself and be your own superhero, and I just thought it was like really cute. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I also thought that Kamala was really funny. Like there is this scene where she's like trying to like change herself, like she's kind of like a shapeshifter. She like turns into this old lady and she's like, damn, I was really trying to go for Taylor Swift. She's just really cool because she writes fan fiction for the Avengers. Like she writes Captain America, Iron Man, you know, Thor fan fictions. Like it's so cool, and it's just like so cute because like I love Captain America. And alright, so the next book I read this month was The Shining by Stephen King, and this was my first Stephen King book I've ever read. I finally got around to reading him. I've been wanting to reading him for like as long as I've been reading, basically, and I watched the movie for the first time about a year ago for my movie class in college, and I freaking loved the movie so hardcore. So I was really excited to read this. I ended up giving this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. Like, honestly, Stephen King's writing is very good. Jack Torrance in this book is an alcoholic, and he has problems with it, and he's afraid that he's gonna hurt his son. The hotel they're staying at, the Overlook Hotel, they're watching it for the winter. I'm sure you guys know the story of The Shining by now, but the son is like afraid. Danny, he's afraid that his dad is gonna hurt him again. His dad had broken his arm by accident when he was drunk, and he's afraid of his dad now. And this book was very creepy. I think the scenes in like room 217 and some of the scenes with the man in the dog costume will like haunt me forever. They were really creepy. Like I honestly feel like I probably would have liked this book a lot better had I read the book before I seen the movie, because in the movie there were a lot of scenes that weren't in this book, and I know that it's like backwards because this book technically came out first, and I should be saying like, oh, the scenes from the book weren't in the movie, you know, but like since I saw the movie first, I was expecting, you know, the scenes when Danny's like wheeling down the hotel hallways and then sees the 2 girls standing there. Like that wasn't in the book, and I was like, oh well, you know, that was one of my favorite parts of the movie. And then when the elevator doors open and the blood comes like running out, you know, and even the final scene in the movie when Jack is chasing Danny through the maze at the end, and you know, whatever, like it just wasn't in the book. So I was kind of disappointed by that, even though I shouldn't be, because I should not be comparing the movie to the book, but the struggle is real. Anyways, I really did enjoy The Shining. I enjoyed the like red room and the you know, all these like mysterious aspects to it, and I am still a fan of the movie and I'm a fan of the book. If you have any recommendations on what I should read next from Stephen King, I would love to know, because you know, starting this fall season, these next couple months, I'm really going to be in the mood to read some Stephen King. So please leave your recommendations below if you have any, and go read The Shining if you haven't. This book's 659 pages, and it's officially the longest book I've ever read, so I'm really glad that I was still able to read 9 books in a month that I read The Shining. The 8th book I read this month was a book called Losing It by Cora Carmack, and this is a book about a girl named Bliss. She is trying so desperately to lose her virginity, and she almost loses it to her future professor, which she doesn't know that yet, but you know, it ends up being one of those teacher-student romance novels. And I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars because it had its moments where it was like kind of funny. Honestly, this book was so cliche and ridiculous. The main character, Bliss, like sometimes she's funny and then sometimes you kind of just want to strangle her a little bit. The ending was the absolute cheesiest cliche, the most cliche thing that could have possibly happened in the epilogue. I'm sure you could guess it, but yeah, so it's really not worth your time. Alright, and the last book I read in the month of August was P.S. I Still Love You by Jandy. I don't own this one yet, but I really plan on owning the physical copy soon just because I really love this duology. I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars as well, even though I did like this second book better than To All the Boys I've Loved Before. But the only reason why I couldn't give this one a higher rating than 4 out of 5 is because the first 100 pages or so, or 150 pages, are so slow and really unnecessary in my opinion. Nothing happens in the first 150 pages, and then right after that, it starts getting so good. So it was kind of difficult to rate, but at the end of the day, I still gave it 4 out of 5 stars. But in this book, Laura Jean is dealing with her newfound romance with Peter, and she comes across another male interest, which is John Ambrose McLaren, and John Ambrose McLaren is my new favorite in this duology. He's my favorite pick, like top pick for her by far. He's like so sweet and so nice to her and so much better than Peter. Like, no offense, I didn't like Peter. He's so, like, shady. He doesn't know when is the right time to go to Genevieve and when it's not okay. Like, you need to pick Laura Jean first. And I really, really enjoyed the scenes with Laura Jean and John Ambrose McLaren. Like, they were just so cute. Like, especially the snow scenes when they're, like, staying at his grandma's place or whatever, and they go out at night and they're having snowball fights and stuff. Like, oh, so cute. I really actually, like, got emotional towards, like, the end of this book when Laura Jean was talking to their neighbor about what it was like to lose your mother at such a young age. It made me so sad. Like, I'm 20 years old, you know, and I still have my mom, and I cannot even imagine, like, losing my mom, you know. So, like, it doesn't matter how old you are, you feel like an orphan when you lose your mom, you know. Like, nobody can ever be ready for it, and it's not like it's something that comes with age. To be able to deal with grief on that kind of level. Really love this book. It was a lot more mature than the first one, in my opinion. Like, Laura Jean grew up a lot in the second book, and overall this duology was just really cute. I just really love it. Those are all of the things that I read in the month of August. I'm very happy that I read 9 books. Hopefully I can keep this up into next month. My favorite book of the month was definitely You by Caroline Kepnes. I also really enjoyed getting more into graphic novels this month. Also, I've really, really loved the To All the Boys I've Loved Before duology. Both of the books were just so satisfying, and I think it'd actually be really great if Jenny Han just wrote a 3rd book that was like 10 years into the future, and it was like Laura Jean was like getting married and Kitty was like graduating from high school and Margot was like having a baby or something. Like, that would just be awesome, and maybe be with John Ambrose McLaren. Like, I don't know. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Next month I'm gonna be moving out of California for the very first time in my life. I don't know how that's gonna affect my reading month next month, but I'm still gonna try to read as much as I can because I love reading. We'll see how it goes. As always, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
I'm going back to my roots, another